Hi, my name is Adriana Martinez, and the video you are about to see is for the Sam Houston State University Building Capacity for Teaching and Learning course. This is an interview with myself and Miss Rosie Siller, the principal of Cable Elementary. The video had to be done via webcam due to scheduling conflicts. So your screen will show myself in the corner, as well as a screen show of what Mrs. Siller was presenting to me. Is it going? Oh, yes, it's going. Okay, thank you, Gracie. Yes, you said go. Thank you. Okay, so then I guess we can start with how you start or what you look at when you're formulating the school improvement plan.
Okay, so when you're formulating the school improvement plan, what you want to be able to see is you look at the goals that you had last year, but you also want to be able to see, again, the different data sets that you had for this upcoming school year. Mm-hmm. So when we met on the 20th, so the names of the individuals are there. So you have, of course, we had discussed some of it, looked at, again, reading levels. That has been a concern within our campus. So then we went ahead and looked at the fact that, again, the set that we're looking at is going to be this one right here. So we were looking at the set. So what you're going to be able to see is, again, we really looked to see, are we growing kids and how many of our kids are actually reading on or above grade level as they enter the upcoming school year. We did see, again, some good celebrations and some areas that need work. We did see that within our kindergarten, remember, we do not look at the beginning of the year. We look at the middle. It's going to be the third and the last 9 weeks. So we have 49% of the kids going into first grade reading on grade level. And then you can see there how there was a concern. So that's where you're going to see these numbers coming in. Okay. That you have 42 out of the 82 kiddos that you have 51% reading on grade level, 54. And then as you move the line, so there is a deep concern in regards to the reading levels and how we're growing kids in regards to reading and integrating writing. Mm-hmm. So one of the causes that we'll be exploring is, again, not only increasing the professional development, but also the reflection piece for teachers of reading and writing. The most neatest things is because there is a new adoption coming in. So that's going to give us an opportunity to be able to explore together, be able to look at different data pieces together in regards to that. So that's one area that we will be looking at, mm-hmm. which is huge. Yeah.
And what does it say right there where it says the root causes?
Mm-hmm.
What is that? What is oh, okay. I see it. Okay. I had to just squint a little bit.
I can increase it. Yeah.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah, I can increase it. Yeah. A lot of it too is, I think, looking at you can have professional development for professional development's sake, but the other thing too is, again, do teachers really understand what the foundations of reading, the elements of reading? So when we look at this, I mean, we'll have to look at the fact too of the way the new TEKS are written is looking at even the structure of our master schedule. Mm-hmm. So when you go into a school improvement plan, this is just the preliminary, but you'll have activities. So one of the activities is looking at the master schedule. Yes. Looking at as far as the time allocations for when we do reading. What is happening? You can't just say reading. I mean, are you doing, again, is it working on vocabulary? Is it going to be working on, sounds? Is it going to be working on the phonics portion? Is it going to be working on comprehension? And what specifically is the T? So within, I guess, that professional development is, again, a lot of it's, what is it the teacher really, really be explicit of what is going to be the expectation and the commitment, because teachers understanding it is going to be pivotal in us being able to grow kids. Because when you look at, again, the data, you had some teachers that, again, when you look at it, some individuals grew kids, some of them, they stayed the same, and some of it, again, we lost ground.
Right.
We lost ground. So that's where you want to be able to say, as a teacher, are all of our teachers taking ownership in regards to growing kids? What kind of conversations as a PLC community are we having? Are they blaming kids? Are we saying, okay, as a teacher, what do I need to change? So that's what I mean by looking at, professional development and reflection, is teachers really taking it upon themselves, and as a campus, don't blame one another, but let's take ownership of really integrating reading and writing for the kids.
Right. And I think one of that reflection piece is something that we don't do very often on our own time. And I think the problem when we get together and we're in professional development and then they tell us, okay, reflect and write it down, but then we're asked to share a reflection. I feel like that's where that fear of saying it out loud to somebody else, yes, it might be needed. But at the same time, we kind of want it to stay to ourselves, to keep it to ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just the way.
It's the trust. It's the vulnerability part. And it's going to be something that as a campus, I feel that we need to work on, because I feel that a reflection, when you reflect upon the practices of how I'm teaching, it's not for my colleague to blame shame on. Right. It's for me to, I'm opening up that this is, again, maybe something I need to work on, or maybe this is a concern I'm having with my kids. But if you have a better solution and I can, implement that, great.
Right.
If I have a solution and it benefits you, awesome. But it's that the reflection piece needs to be not a blaming of students. We're really looking and trusting each other. And I think that's where, once we hit that pivotal part, I think you're going to really see people and teams shine. And I feel like that might be something that we want to do in an integrated part, as far as building that trust and cultivation of teams. And over time, doing team building opportunities that we see it across the campus. Right. Because that's going to be pivotal.
Well, I know you and I had talked about, I think the last time we were talking, we talked about the that data piece being one thing that we were missing from the PLC part, is that we've done much better with planning. We've done better with our data days with specialists, but not necessarily looking at data with our teams on a regular basis. So,
and I think that's one of the things too, that when you look at even the data from last year and this year, you're absolutely right, is looking at even let's just say looking at third grade data. When you see that last year we had a 63%, this year we had a 49%. There's, again, when a person and a teacher, they get very emotional when they say, oh my gosh, we dropped down by 14 percentage points. Well, you know what? You got to let that emotion go through you, but you also need to be reflective upon the practices that happened. Right. What was the schedule like? What was the support that we had? What were the processes that we did with identifying students that were struggling, and what did we do with them? If we did tutor them, how often did we tutor them? What did we tutor them with? If they had a reading specialist that they were seeing, how did we progress monitor? What did we do? So those are the pieces that we need to see and reflect on, because, again, this is a number, yes, but you need to also look at attendance of the students. And that was one thing that I did look at. I even looked at the fact of discipline, looking at how many discipline referrals, right, did we have coming through. So one of the things and again, people might say, no, those are just excuses. No, those are going to be problems, because of the fact that if they're taking away from a teacher engaging in the learning, students having that inquiry, that discussion, that's going to hinder your performance too. So that's where I feel like, again, we need to take the time this year, not just to look at the score, but to look at the fact of where did we fall short? Because a lot of it was in the inquiry of students being able to really understand the different expository pieces of those elements. That's where we fell short, and that fell within third, fourth, and fifth. So those are things that we need to look at, because, again, fourth grade, yes, they went up, but, again, that was a cohort. That was a cohort of kids. But then you got to look at the level of, again, looking at the level of support. And here's the other interesting part. When you look at results, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's just look at hypothetically, even for fourth grade, when you look at overall, you got to be able to say, okay, if you have one teacher that has a 60%, but you have one teacher that brought in a 33%, one teacher that brought a 94, an 89, and a 25. Did all teachers, if this teacher that we had a 25% and that teacher that would have had a 33, if they could have just brought us in at least a 55 or 60%, we would not be sitting where we're sitting.
Right.
So every child counts. Okay. So the other data that you look at for priority is, again, you're not looking at just, the reading levels. You're having to look at, again, your STAR scores. You're having to look at discipline. You're having to look at teacher turnovers. There's a whole bunch of things that you have to look at. But this one is going to be another one that I placed in your to share. Is going to be just reflecting. So, of course, the red is going to indicate that we had a drop. Then the green is going to be that we had a growth. They will also look at it in Northside. But the other thing to think about, too, is that you can't just compare it to our district. You have to look at other campuses that are demographically like ours.
Right.
So that's another thing to look at.
And I think that's the hardest. I think that's the hardest part is our demographics are so special.
Yes. So what I did do is, because we dropped significantly also in science, but one of the things I do, and this is just me, wanting to look at it over time, because I guess just many times, and it is true. Whether it's anybody, they'll say, my gosh, what's going on with you guys and what's happening with cable. So we've had highs and lows. So this is going to be from 2014 all the way to 2019. So we've hovered. If you think about it, it was a 66, 61, 59, 53. We had a 63, and then we had a 45, a 49. So we've never had in the 40s,
Yeah.
So that's, again, you have to look at what are we doing and how are we growing our kids. You have to look at, again, that cohort. This little 63 was going to be the same little cohort that's right here. This little cohort, but then you think about this little group. This 49 was what we got a 76 out of them. Right. But then you have to think about, we really targeted the students. And again, we have to look at, how are we growing kids? Because look at here. This is now math. Those kids from last year, from third grade, had a 60. The kids got a 51.
They dropped.
Oh, yeah.
Big time.
Yes. So then this cohort, we had a 57, and we got a 77. But again, this is a second attempt, right? They have two opportunities. The writing, we went ahead and had a 42, and we got a 50. So we had an 8-point gain there. And then we had our science. This is scary because we had a 66 and it dropped to a 47. Then again, you got to think about the fact too, is we had 2 teachers on admin leave. We had, again, new kids coming in. So those are all factors that people don't see in our story. No. And that's things that they need to be able to be embedded in it, because again, we're not making excuses, but we have to learn from those practices so that we can become better at whatever we're faced with.
Well, see, and just kind of going back to like with the reading in that 5th grade group jumping so high, the Myrna, they really took on that Harry Potter themed intervention. They owned it. It was theirs, and the scores show. It was something they really wanted to do, and they went for it. And so, they got good results from it. And then I know in previous years, Amy has always done where she saw the 5th graders in the lab and was doing, hands-on activities, and, was really big in having every single, seeing every single student. And since she was in a classroom, I don't think she necessarily had that same opportunity with this group.
She didn't have the opportunity because of the fact that, again, she took on that class when that teacher went on admin leave. She took on that class. Yeah. She went in and became a teacher. And so she was not able to do that. But then it also is a good reflection as well, because of the fact that, again, can we truly, truly depend on a specialist to carry us through? No. We really can't. As teachers, need to be able to own it. And then when we had the second individual on that same grade level that was placed on admin leave, that it did kick us.
Yeah.
So yes, we got these scores and we hyperventilated within the 5th grade, but see what we lost out too is we lost some momentum too within being mindful of that 3rd grade.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the things too, is again, you have enough specialists. And that's one of the things I want to look at too, is that when you have that many reading specialists or support personnel, we really need to be mindful of the fact of who is the individuals assisting, and keeping it true. So that's one of the things too, is that you have, the classrooms that, again, looking at what we talked about, if I have a GT classroom, should a reading specialist technically be in that GT classroom? No, those kids should be, again, teacher needs to be able to do it on their own.
Right.
Why?
Right.
Because they're needed within that class that is needing the support because the kids are in RTI.
Right.
And that's where I feel that the ownership of our staff, sometimes people become very dependent rather than feeling empowered to say, I can do this. I got this.
Well, and I think that's something that's starting to go away. I know in the past, let's just say 5 years, it was, as a teacher, we don't touch our tier 3s. Our that intervention is for, specialists. That's there. They need to see them. You don't see them at all. They need to see them. And I think as in the last two or 3 years, that mindset is kind of shifting away, which is awesome. Because that's where we need to be headed, is getting rid of that mindset that we need to see as classroom teachers. We need to see everybody, not just our non-tier kids.
Right.
Like
yes.
There are kids, as you mentioned, and it's getting everyone on board with understanding it. Our tier 3s they don't belong to our specialists.
No.
And I think we've kind of been forced to get out of that mindset with just the number of tier kiddos we actually have, because that number seems to be growing as the years go on, or just the number of kids we have in tier.
It's ownership.
Yeah.
So it's ownership. So one of the things too, and again, this isn't across everyone. This is a discussion I had with math, and I had it with reading, but math already did it.
Uh-huh.
So this is again, this is all this data, right? But my thing, again, I'm off, but I need to put all this data into a narrative so that teachers can understand.
Mm-hmm.
Like this right here is great that you have all of this information, but it's overwhelming.
Oh, absolutely.
I need to be able to give it a frame. So like, for instance, these are going to be the students that we had that are going now. They've already broken it up into the 4th graders, now who they're going to have for next year. Okay. Do you see that already?
Yeah, I see it.
They already broke them up. The other thing I wanted to know was, again, if a child received an OA, meaning that whether they're going to be in special ed or a lot of them are in tier, and they received an oral admin because of a tier 3, right?
Right.
Did you pass? Did it make a difference? So do you see how they already sliced them in?
Uh-huh.
You're already seeing the kids that got away, the kids that passed, and the kids that did not. So then the same was done within math realm only. We haven't done it
for reading.
No. So now they've already, you see how 3rd grade is there. Now they've already broken it into who's going to have them next year. So you have individuals, you have again some outstanding, people that desperately want to see our campus grow, but do the teachers have that investment too? And that's where, if they don't, again, how can we empower them to have it?
I really think it's that training, that professional development on what we have available on the campus, because we don't know. I mean, I've been there 7 years and didn't know what else was there besides open court and TPRI. And like I said, the only reason why I was familiar with those two was because I had that experience in kinder. Had I not had that, I wouldn't have any idea what to do with these kiddos after 2nd grade. would have no clue. And with the number of new people we have coming in, I think that's going to be essential, is just getting us to know what we have available, where it is, and how to use it. And I think that's the biggest part, is knowing how to use it.
Yeah, and what to do with it.
Right.
Yeah. So like I said, they've identified the kids and which ones they're going to and so forth. So they broke up that that data. So like, let me show you, let's see, let me put it right there. So, but across the board, not just one. Yes, you can look at the students in fourth grade, but then looking at writing across the board. And then the other one is going to be your math.
Well, and then kind of going back to the writing, I think the way the new curriculum is written, and I think the goal that the district and where it's trying to go is, and what the huge chunk of that training we went to was about, is how to integrate reading and writing together. Day 2 was really enjoyable. It was a lot more fun. Oh yeah, absolutely. It was a lot more fun. And it was nice to, like I said, kind of dig deep into the standards again, but practicing how to use the new curriculum to find what we need.
Good.
So I think that this whole experience of going through this new adoption is really going to help as far as the what we need to teach, answering that question, is the what are we going to be teaching.
So I think if you think about that, if you think about the new like changes coming in, I think that's one of the things that you need to look at too, is because for me, as I go into year 10 years of being at our campus, and I see like our scores go down, I have to say that I do reflect a lot, because I have to say, is there something that I need to change? Is there something that, are we going in the right direction? I mean, what is stopping us from reaching it? Because I see great things that are happening, but I also see some concerns. But then you have new people that, again, we can start again.
Yes.
It's not broken, but again, some people lose their thrill. And so I feel like, again, with this change coming on, people can say, oh my gosh, but honestly, it's really neat. Yeah. Because that's one thing I have to say with our campus. We do good with change.
Yes.
We do good with change. We do good when we do change, and we talk about it. We structure time to learn, have opportunities for people to share.
It's that fresh start.
Yes.
That feeling of a fresh start that some people really need.
Yes. So I feel having the new curriculum, it's really going to assist us within, again, the celebrations, and being mindful of the fact of how are we doing it for the reading and the writing. So I feel like, even though you look at these things right here, honestly, it's going to be pivotal, again, not to put too many things of what we're doing. The things that we're doing, like you said, the data, being able to be mindful of the data. What are we paying attention to? Why is the data important? What is it saying? Looking at, again, and it is, again, a big piece, I have to tell you, is looking at the teachers and taking care of their own concerns in the classroom. Again, that relationship of the student to the teacher. We cannot have admin continuously. Can you come to my classroom? Can you come to my classroom? Because, again, we never get to truly coach.
Right.
So I feel that building those relationships with teachers to students, and having, again, like admin and support staff, building those relationships, I feel that will even empower us further to be able to look at with trusting eyes and conversations about the data, and not so judgmental. And if we do get to that point, then just say kindly, can we please focus back on the students?
Right.
And I feel that, again, so these right here, you have the root cause, but now it's going to flesh itself out with, again, activities and things that we can be mindful about, right?
Right. So then, as we progress through the year, how often are we, as a leadership team, going to be looking at these to see if we're headed?
You look at them every, for sure, you have to look at them every single 9 weeks.
Okay.
I look at them pretty much on an every other week, because of the fact that you have to circle around. So that's where you'll see that we'll be looking at the reading levels when we first start at the beginning of the year, looking at all the practices, and then again when we close out, the first round of the night, because you have to have all the kids the reading levels right when the report card. So we look at it again, then looking at the writing, looking at so one of the things we built in is, again, at the beginning of the year, looking at your students' writing, being able to formulate that rubric, formulate a plan. So then again, as it closes out the end of the 9 weeks, we look at them. But one of the things that I've learned is, honestly, every other week, looking at, again, whether it's reading. Now let's put the lens now on writing. So every time you're looking at them, recurse it, but for sure, to have, again, substantial data, you have to then look at it at least 9 weeks. But again, these conversations are going to live on a daily basis.
Right.
Meaning that if I have a conversation with a teacher, I'm going to have to ask, or I can celebrate with them and say, wow, I came in to see your reading block. And I really love the way how you were working with students, and you're very targeted within your lesson. The conversations I saw were, and I can give verbatim, it really correlates to the TEAC. Some of the things I suggest you might want to work on are that based on the TEAC. So again, take away, and I probably used it incorrectly even when I said I love the way. I can't say that. Targeted lesson was very focused on da-da-da-da-da.
Right.
So keeping it about the learning, keeping it about the growing, and giving specific feedback around, again, our goal is going to be pivotal, because that's something that I even strive. I start off very strong, and then everything else happens, right? You know, discipline, you have whatever, this happens, and it keeps me away. And that's one thing I've noticed is that I need to, as an instructional leader, that has to be my priority. All the other stuff, I'm going to tell you, comes and goes. But the one thing that, again, that I can leave a legacy is coaching my teachers up. Right. And if I'm not doing that, I got to figure out, too, what's stopping me? Just like I asked you, the teachers, what's stopping you? It's the same I ask myself. What's stopping me? It's the day in and day out stuff. Right. And at the very end, does it really matter? It matters, but not to the degree, and not to the aspect of again, for me,
the learning.
Is that, again, when I look at my kids, that they're not growing significantly, and I look at my awesome teachers, I have to say to myself, then what can I do as their principal? What can I do? And don't be afraid.
Right.
So I'm taking my own advice. I'm not going to, we're going to have, and there's things that, again, that it comes down to me. So.
Well, and then I think you said it earlier too, that that trust and trusting, having your leadership team, making sure that they trust and be able to speak honestly to you about what's actually happening and what they feel happened this past school year.
Yep.
Because we've had, like I said, we've had lots of time to reflect, and I know I've done it.
And you can beat yourself down.
Yeah.
And that's the thing you got to think about too, is that everyone is human, and you beat yourself down on all of the different components, and you look at it, and you feel horrible, but that wasn't meant to do that. I mean, again, the whole premise of data is so that you can grow, but have those candid conversations with yourself and with others. And like I said, I have to. I want to know. And again, one of the things that I look at is, again, it's going to have to change. We cannot continue doing the same thing that we've been doing, because it's not working. That 8:30, it did not work.
No.
The rotation, the way it is not working. So again, that's what I'm actually spending my time in doing, is because you cannot continue doing the same thing, because you're going to get the same result.
Right.
And just because of the fact too, again, we have a great opportunity that we have. Again, we're going from 5 classrooms to 4 classrooms. So again, what things can we do?
Where can we make that time, that extra intervention time?
And the thing is too, that again, I cannot just depend on my teachers. I even look at my GT, subsets, and I look at the fact too that I feel that, again, what great engagements of enrichment opportunities can I have, again, the librarian having, again, like a book club with them, right? Or can I have, someone, you have to think of it differently too, that though individuals don't need intervention or remediation, you still have to think about the fact that, again, all students deserve the right to have that active inquiry, active engagement. All teachers deserve the right to be able to grow as well.
Yes.
And so that's where, again, if they feel beaten down, then you're looking at the Imagine Literacy and how they felt. This is going to be Accelerated Reader. I wanted to see that how many of our teachers truly are using Accelerated Reader, and then to be able to project out of how did kids do within the STAR. Okay.
Yes.
So we wanted to be able to see that, again, on this particular class, you had that how many books were read, how many books were passed, and at what rate. When you go through some of the other classes, they did not have, look at how many, 2, 4, and then look how many more no's I have. So Accelerated Reader is supposed to be, again, you have it within your new TEACS, which is a sustained silent reading, which is going to be great.
Yes.
As many times as we ask teachers, I have to do it. No, it's again, what's required of the state, because, again, it's supposed to be an excitement and engagement for kids.
It's that mind shift now. It's that mind shift that we knew we needed to do it, but it was always, and we talked about this at training, we knew the benefits of it, but it was the first thing that we, chunked when we needed more time for instruction.
Right. Yes.
So now, it's a part of our TEACS. So it's like, well, that we can't cross it anymore. We have to do it.
We get to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So then but that's something too that we don't pay attention to. We say that we're doing it, but how often do I actually talk to and show reports and celebrate Accelerated Reader? Oh my gosh, the trophy goes to, or the certificate goes to. We don't take the time to do that and celebrate it. Because then if you look at this one, again, it was 1 or 2 books that they read, but the kids still passed. So then you wonder, okay, well, why? Well, because 1, we had them probably an intervention. 2, they already were readers when the teacher got them in the first place.
Right.
So those are things too that we were trying to figure out, was it the programs that we have, are they meaningful for growing kids? So this is, again, another data set that we were looking at to be able to see, did it correlate?
Right.
Some of it, yes, it did. Yes,
well, and I think with AR, and it's not just necessarily, because I'm sure those kids read more than one book the entire school year, but it's just, I think we mentioned just how are the teachers approaching the program? Are they allowing for the kids to actually have time to use it? And how we're, like I said, celebrating it. Because when my kids read, I don't know how many books, but as far as getting on the computer to take a test, they didn't want to. They
didn't see the value of it.
No, they didn't.
Celebration around it. Right.
Nope.
Right.
And that's where, as much as I tried, we had a tracking sheet, we had goals, but I think their lack of comprehension, even with the number of books they've read, they weren't doing well on those tests anyway. And so they just, why bother?
Yes, they didn't feel success.
No, they didn't.
They didn't feel success. And I think that's where we had talked about too. It's not just the teacher reflecting, it's about goal setting for the child also, that it's not about the failure. It's about that everyone fails. It's about the learning and about getting back up again. What is it teaching?
Right.
And I feel like that's where we have 2 counselors, right? That we need our counselors to be able to educate us as a campus to say, how do we do goal setting, and then implement it into our campus. And that's where I feel that, again, we're leaving it up to chance, and chance isn't getting us what we need.
No. And we have, we have the goals that we need to reach as far as, as a campus with the school improvement plan, but I know having our own personal goals that we want to reach for ourselves, but why are we not teaching our kids how to do those same skills?
Exactly. So that's where I'm saying that, again, looking at the meat of everything, it really, our targeted focus and celebration is, again, you have your school improvement plan is going to have those, but again, we're going to have to be very targeted and focused because, again, otherwise we're going to be doing the same thing all over again.
Right.
And that's not what we're there for.
No. Mm-mm.
So,
No.
yeah. So, but that's where I'm saying that was there anything else, any other questions that you had though, or?
No. I think we covered most of it, the whole process and how you got to the goals that we've selected for this school year.
Mm-hmm. And you'll have more, like I said, you have the root cause, and like I shared the documents because those are the back end.
Right.
I can't share all those documents. I'm going to have to put them, like I said, in a concise version because, again, and some of the things that you'll see here, they'll have like questions that will guide, the conversations as far as looking at the data and looking at, again, the question.
Uh-huh.
So you're looking at enrollment, looking at the demographics, you're looking at, again, the teachers. So this right here, I put it on there too, because it is guiding questions that you are able to utilize as you're looking, because every single thing matters. My concern right now is going to be very, very truthfully, is I got some really good feedback. I was really excited to be able to read them. The sheet that we gave teachers that they wrote in.
Yes.
Some teachers, honestly, I love the fact, I love the honesty of doing more of this or keep doing less of that. Overall, it was around teachers really, really loved the celebrations around moving kids.
Yes.
It wasn't about the fluffy. It was about the meaningful, that when you celebrate with us about the work that we're doing to grow kids, it really helps us feel good inside.
Yes.
That was good to know. Because that's where I need to pay my attention to. I need to stop. And then they really love the potlucks. Don't get me wrong. They love the potlucks. They really love the sex group. They really love that. So those are type of things that, again, that they love. That's part of the culture.
Right.
So that was really good feedback. The other thing you'll see within the day one, this is coming from the district. So what I've done already is it has an overview of what I am to do and present. And this is where I'll probably ask staff members to assist me. And it's already laid out. So we'll have the Leadership Institute, but then I plan for it to go back to the campus because there's a lot of posters and things like that.
Right.
So there you have a lot of it laid out, what you're talking about, the needs assessment, the problem statement, the root cause. So those will be utilized, what you saw there.
Right.
But then we'll be taking it deeper into the work.
Into those the activities portion.
Yes, ma'am.
We know what we're going to do, but now let's get to the how we're going to do it.
What is it that we're going to be targeting on?
Yeah.
Correct. So that's going to be an activity that's going to be there for us to do. So that's where it'll flesh itself out a little bit more. So of course you do this work with the team, right? And you have two that we flesh it out. But then the other intricate part is going to have to be that now empowering the whole staff so that they know the work that we did and what is it.
Right.
And that's it. So awesome. More to come, right?
Yes. Well, it's going to be like a good, a nice fresh start. With lots of room to grow, but new people, new activities, new curriculum, just like brand new start.
Exactly.
Back to year one.
Yes, exactly. It's all good. We got this. So yeah.
Well, this was fun, Miss Miller. Thank you so much for letting me get a sneak peek.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
I put the documents all there so that if you need to, again, you can refer back to them. But if you have questions, just feel free to ask me about them because, again, it is alive.
Yeah.
It is alive. And it isn't by chance. So many people think it's just by chance. It's not. But a lot of it, being able to looking at the data, reflecting upon it, and now it's buy-in of the staff so that they know exactly where we're going. So.
Well, and I just, in one of the books that I read, and just because you said it, Mike Matos said it's not buy-in, it's ownership. And I know we've said the word over and over since we've been talking, is just getting teachers to own it.
Yep.
It's not the buying, it's the ownership.
And I think a lot of it too with me is the fact that they say the right things in front of each other, but then when they go back to a private, they say the opposite.
Right.
And that's where we need to stop that. We need to we need to always remember that when we raise each other up and that we educate each other and we empower each other about the positives that we're doing, inevitably we're all going to grow. But if we focus on the fact that we say one thing, but we don't hold ourselves to the commitment because we truly don't believe in it, then we're honestly putting that vision out there, and that's why we're getting what we're getting.
Right.
That's not fair. That's not fair to anyone.
No.
Because our kids deserve so much better, and as educators.
This interview really helped me understand what it's like to begin the SIP process. Because I was on the leadership team this past school year, I was able to see the close of the year, the close and reflection of what for our SIP goal for the year. But I never got the opportunity to see what it's like to actually start the process for the next school year's goals. So Ms. Siller did an amazing job, and I got really lucky. Kind of lucky because we had so many scheduling conflicts, but I got lucky in the sense that because we waited to have, or we had to wait to have this interview, it allowed for her to have time to really dig into the data and work on the SIP process or on the SIP plan for this coming school year. So when we got to talk about what it is like to plan the SIP, I was really able to see all of the steps that she goes through because she had it all there in the folders, and she was able to share her screen with me and share with me all of the things that she looked at. One of the things that I found really interesting, or one of the things that I really appreciated, was the fact that her and I were able to talk about the data a little bit. We were able to, she was able to show me exactly what she was thinking and how she was thinking based on the data presented by our campus. And what that taught me was that our SIP goals have to be data driven. Our goals really need to focus on what our students are missing and where we're missing, and not necessarily just on STAR scores, but throughout the grade level. I know we looked at reading scores for kinder, first, second, and then through third, fourth, and fifth. But Ms. Siller really showed me how important it is to go beyond STAR, because third, fourth, and fifth grade is not our whole campus, and the SIP goal really needs to be wrapped around the students' needs as a campus. Yes, STAR scores is one component, but it's not the whole thing. And I know we kind of got off track and we started talking about the new curriculum and the new TEKS and the new adoption that our district that we're getting ready to go through. But I think that conversation was really useful because it takes us back to what we're going to work on as a campus, how we're going to utilize our new resources to reach our goals. I know we didn't get a chance to really talk about some of the activities that we were going to be working on. I think a part of that was we had the conversation previously via the phone before this interview. So I missed that portion, but I know over the phone we talked about Ms. Siller really got my feedback as a teacher on what I felt happened this past school year, and I think that's going to be critical in being an administrator and building your school improvement plan, is not only looking at where the campus is strong, where the campus is weak, but getting feedback from teachers. The teachers are in it. The teachers are in the classrooms firsthand, seeing what's happening with our kiddos. And if we are not, as administrators, getting their feedback, we're going to keep missing our mark, because as an administrator, as much as we want to be in the classrooms, in reality, it doesn't happen as much as it should. And that's something that I've learned from Ms. Siller that I would like to work on as a future administrator, just making sure that I'm in classrooms as much as possible. Another thing that I really appreciated and something that I really learned from Ms. Stiller through this interview was to make sure to look at data over time, not just this year or this past year and the year before, but really over time, as well as telling a story. She talked a lot about, or her and I talked a lot about how our campus is very unique in the sense of its demographics. And a lot of times we have kind of a bad rap. I go places and people say, where are you from? And I tell them Cable, and they're like, oh, there? How long have you been there? And I really think it's because we have such, we do score low, but people see, we have 97% eco-dis, and that's all they see. They don't really see our kids. They don't see our parents. They don't see our families and what they really go through. And I think that's really important to keep in mind as an administrator, and you're building your school improvement plan and you're going through your data. And I know Ms. Stiller said it a few times in the interview, is numbers, the data's are numbers, the data show truth. However, not letting those numbers really get you down, because in the end, as a campus, you are the only ones who know your true story and who know what your kiddos need. And we can't let the negative outside comments affect how we perceive our campus and how hard we work on our campus. So I think out of the interview, I feel like I got a lot of information about what it's like to build the school improvement plan. I've been able to see the middle of it, being a part of the leadership team, going through it every 9 weeks after teachers have updated spreadsheets on their on their students' reading levels. So adjusting the school improvement plan as needed, I've been able to get my hands on. Again, seeing the end result was incredible, and just reflecting as a leadership team on how we did before results came in, how we felt we did, how we as teachers feel, or where we feel we need more support, where we feel strong, and where we feel the campus needs some help. And so this interview really showed me that beginning step, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.